Yes. Good afternoon, wherever you're getting us from. Thank you very much for logging in today. My name is Anton from Zambia, and together with Violet, who's going to introduce herself later, we are going to be the co-moderators for today's event. Today's event, which is the life of an intern from a Zambian as well as Namibian perspective, is brought to you by Phoenix MedEd, an international collaboration among medical students, doctors, as well as other health professionals, with the goal of global health education. Initially, it was started with the help of Professor Ho last year during the inception of COVID-19, just so we could catch up and interact, collaborate, and learn about health. We initially started with 3 countries, that's Namibia, Zambia, and Cardiff. And now we're expanding and extending to countries such as Iraq, as well as Somaliland. So today is about the life of an intern. We're going to hear from 2 doctors, one from Zambia, another from Namibia. So the plan or the outline is as follows. There'll be a presentation from one of the doctors. We'll start from the doctor from Zambia, and we'll proceed with the doctor from Namibia. And then afterwards, we're going to have a Q&A section, and there'll be a discussion. House rules, you are required to please mute our microphones unless you're called upon to speak, as well as our videos, just to increase the efficiency of the data as well as the internet. And if you have any questions during the presentations, or perhaps during the Q&A, kindly type them in the chat box and they'll be read, and later on discussions will proceed. Please feel free to interact, and I hope you enjoy the session. Right about now, I hand over to Violet. Violet?
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Violet. I'm the Namibian representative for Phoenix MedEd. So I'll just be introducing our first speaker. So our first speaker is Dr. Christopher Peary, who's a junior resident medical officer at the Levy Mwanawasa University Teaching Hospital in the capital of Zambia, Lusaka. She's currently in the Department of Obstetrics and Gynaecology, which is her 3rd of 4 clerkships. She graduated in the class of 2019 from the University of Zambia. And apart from having a degree in general medicine and surgery, she also holds a Bachelors of Science in Human Biology. She's also an alumni of Young Emerging Scientists, which is long for years in Zambia, which heads research at the InciSioN Working Group Zambia, and has proficiency in data analysis from Trials of Excellency in Southern Africa, among other interests like public health and gynaecology. In her spare time, Dr. Peary likes to enjoy reading and gardening. So let's welcome her. Dr. Christabel, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Violet. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Christabel, as Violet has said, and I am so grateful for being given an opportunity to speak in this forum, and I hope we all get to pick up something from each other. So I will just share my screen now, then I'll go ahead and let you know about how internship in Zambia is. So internship in Zambia, can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. The transition, I'll start from where it starts. So medical school in Zambia is an average of 6 to 7 years, depending on where you train. So you do your 4 years of preclinical, which is your human biology. You get your degree in 5th year, then you proceed to your clinical years, 5th year through 7th year, then you're finally done with medical school. Once you're done, you're expected to do your internship. But before internship, there's a transition. Normally, depends on when you graduate. So normally we graduate like around August, September. Then you probably have to wait for like 6 to 9 months before you actually start your internship at a selected site. So whilst you're still doing your clinical years, you get an opportunity to choose where you would like to do your internship. And depending on the number of people they need at a particular site, sometimes you get to go to the site you chose. Other times they get to send you to a site that you didn't exactly choose, but either way, go for your internship. So we have multiple site options. So you can do internship at a tertiary institution. Here in Lusaka, we've got 2, which is the Levy Mwanawasa Hospital and the University Teaching Hospital. Then we've got 1 on the Copper Belt, which is the Ndola Teaching Hospital. Then we've got other centers in periphery. So you can do it in an urban area, or you can actually go to a rural area. So there are pros and cons to where you go for your internship. So if you do go to an urban or tertiary facility, you have great acumen with your clinical, your academic area is going to be really good, so because you've got a lot of teachers. If you do choose a rural area, mostly you get very good acumen for surgical skills, because there you're doing a lot of hands-on. So internship in Zambia is a mandatory of 18 to 24 months, depending on the site. So some sites would keep you for a longer period. Other sites are going to keep you for just 1 year, 6 months. So during that time, you're expected to do 4 clerkships. And these clerkships are all logged. So you're almost like still in school. They're keeping tabs on you. So you have to show up at a particular time. You have to do so many number of procedures. And the rotations you have to pass through are pediatrics, internal medicine, general surgery, and then obstetrics and gynecology. The duration of each clerkship: pediatrics is a 3-month rotation, internal medicine 3-month rotation, surgery is a 6-month rotation, because we split it into general surgery and orthopedic surgery. Now there's introduction of a ped surgical rotation. So it's now like you split the 6 months into 3. So you do 3 of general surgery, 1 of ped surgery, then 2 months of orthopedic surgery. Then you have obstetrics and gynecology, also a 6-month rotation. So there you do 3 months of gynae and you do 3 months of obstetrics. When you're done with those months, or during those months, what you're expected of as an intern here in Zambia is, first of all, your job is to be there all the time, no excuses. You have to know how to take your history. So this is something we all learn in medical school, like history taking is your bread and butter, because whatever you're going to manage the patient on is going to be based on your history. So from my experience, you need to be proficient in at least 2 local languages, because most people here speak about English and 2 other languages. So if you can speak either of those, then you'll be able to get your history really well. You have to be perfect with your examinations. You have to be good with your baseline investigations. They will expect that you know your initial management of a patient who comes in shock, or if it's a baby who comes with burns, whatever rotation you're in, you'll be expected to know your baseline investigations. You have to be really aggressive. So I've noticed that, well, at my facility, or even other colleagues whom I've asked, especially those in rural centers, the intern basically runs the hospital. So if the intern is not there, the hospital might not even run. We're actually thinking maybe one of these days we should withdraw all the interns and there'll be no hospital at all, but okay. So you get to make the first decision. When the patient comes, whatever you do decides whether this patient is going to last the next 24 hours or not. Your senior will only come when you call them, or if they're actually on ground at that particular point. So a call day is normally about 24 to 28 hours, sometimes even 30 hours. So you go in the morning and you're expected to be there until the following day, maybe up to noon or so, depending on the workload. So during the time your senior is not around, if a patient comes, whatever you do is what's going to make the patient last. So you have to be really aggressive and your decision-making has to be on point. You need to have great communication skills. So when you're working as an intern here in Zambia, it's like working in a team. You can't work alone. So you have the nurses, you've got the people at the lab, you've got the pharmacists, you've got your seniors, you've got your fellow interns working with you. So when you do have a situation, you have to then apply your communication skills so that you manage the patient holistically. So you find yourself in a situation where you're not able to talk to your colleague, or you'd have beef with a nurse, or you don't like how this lab person does whatever they do at the lab. It won't only hinder your relationship with the person, but it's also going to hinder the management of the patient. because you can imagine all these people have a huge role to play in the management of the patient. So it's up to you to have great relationships with them, so that when a patient does come, you're able to tell the nurse, okay, here, I would like you to do this for the patient. You tell this person, I would like you to do this lab for the patient. I would like you to do this. You put it all together, then you'll be able to manage the patient properly. Also, I think this is one thing they never really taught us in med school, leadership skills. So I noticed when you do get to your internship site, you're sort of a leader. Like I said earlier, an intern literally runs the hospital. So when a situation happens, when someone comes, you've got an RTA victim bleeding on the bed, it's up to you to now take the lead. So you call the shots. You give instructions, this person does this person, but then you have to learn the difference between being a boss and being a team player. I guess that's another thing they really need to teach us in medical school, because you find yourself giving instructions and not being part of the instructions. That then makes you the boss, and people don't like you being the boss in such a situation. So you have to be a leader, but in as much as you are being a leader, you also get to be a team player. So you do give the instructions, but you're part of the instructions altogether, so that at the end of the day, everyone would have done their part. You don't end up frustrating yourself, because if you're the boss, the subordinates can choose not to obey what the boss has said at a particular point. Then it's you who gets to carry the load. So you find yourself putting the patient in the bed, being the one to catheterize the patient, drawing the blood, taking the blood to the blood, waiting for the blood to be run and bringing it back. At the end of the day, you'll be so tired and you wouldn't have done much. But if you're a leader in that situation and you're working as a team, you get to delegate tasks. This one does this one does that. At the end of the day, everyone would have done at least an equivalent amount of work, and it's going to be more efficient. Then you have to know the who's, the where's, and the how's. An intern in Zambia is about the most well-connected person, if I should call it that. So the intern knows a person at the lab, because you want your samples to be done immediately. The intern knows a person at radiology, because you want your scans and your x-rays to be done on time, your CT scans to be reported on time. An intern knows a porter. Yeah, we think the porter is just a servant who moves the hospital, pushes the trolley around to bring a patient to theater and back, but an intern should know at least 1 or 2 porters, because if you do have an emergency in OBS, especially where I am now, like every other minute you have to rush a patient to theater. If you have a bad relationship with the porters, no one is going to be bringing the trolley for you, then you have to physically go and get it. So you have to have connections. Like you need to have a porter whom you're in good standing with, so that if you do need a trolley, you just pick up your phone and tell, okay, I have this and this, and the porter comes running to you. You need to know a person at the lab. If you need an investigation done, that takes 1 hour ordinarily. If you do have this contact at the lab, they get to do it for in 15 minutes, you have results, you're able to manage your patient properly. You need to know a particular nurse, because some drugs will not be available in the ward, and it's only this nurse who can get them for you. You need to know a pharmacist, because there are some drugs that are not on the ward and the pharmacist has to order for you. So it's how you do it, whom you know, and where the thing is at the hospital. That's what's expected of you as an intern. On a major ward round day, for example, the consultant is not going to say why it takes 4 hours to do urea and electrolytes, for example, and you don't have a result. They're not going to consider it takes 4 hours. They are going to consider you the intern didn't do your job. So that's what I'm saying. You need to know someone, you need to know how to get around it, and you need to know where to get it, so that when the time comes and you're challenged, you have everything in check. So yeah, carrying a lot of weight on your shoulders as an intern. You're responsible for so much, so you need to be always on your feet. Hierarchy. So most of the times, because you're always in the hospital, you're always tired, it feels like you're at the bottom of the food chain. The nurse can tell you what to do. The porter can refuse to bring the trolley for you if you want to take a patient to theater. You just feel really unappreciated and alone most of the times. But there is a hierarchy. So in as much as you are the most junior among the medical practitioners or the doctors, you have the lowest position, you still have a responsibility over other people. So you have a responsibility over the nurses. If a nurse does something wrong, it's you who's going to be answerable because you were the person that's right above them. If the lab tech doesn't do the samples right, it is your responsibility. If the pharmacist hasn't delivered the drugs on time, it is your responsibility. If the students are not clerking, they are not learning, they are not doing what they're supposed to do when they come for their clinical clerkships, you still have a responsibility over them. If the porter is not coming to clean up the place on time, they are not bringing the trolley on time for theater, it is still your responsibility. Also, most importantly, all these people, plus yourself as an intern, are there for the patient, and the bedsider is also there for the patient. So many times here, the bedsider has got a lot of responsibilities, like I draw the sample for a certain test, it's up to the bedsider to take it to the lab. I get to follow it up myself, but sometimes I can still delegate the bedsider to go and get it. So you need to have control or leadership among all these people, and you need to know how to relate to each one of them without finding yourself getting frustrated or without frustrating the people that you're above. So it all goes back to having good communication skills and good leadership skills, because in as much as you are answerable to your immediate senior registrars and the consultant, all these people here are answerable to you. And if you're not being a good leader, all these people below you are also not going to do a good job. And at the end of the day, it's you and the patient who are going to suffer. Then social life and career. So most of us think or perceive doctors are superheroes. Yeah, I like to think we are superheroes too, but we are human beings just like anyone else. The patient doesn't understand you get tired most of the time. The bedsider doesn't understand you get tired. They expect you to be there for them 24/7. I had an opportunity to rotate in the COVID center around January, and there I really understood how or what people perceive a doctor to be, a superhero in this case. So you would be awake through the night, resuscitating, making sure everyone is getting their oxygen, but no one would care to see that you're tired. So it comes back to you as the intern to now find a balance between what do I do when I'm tired? How do I take care of myself? I believe you can only give as much care as you have given to yourself. So imagine a situation where you're awfully tired. I find myself doing a very pathetic round on my post-code day because I've been up the whole night and I'm not going to give the best of care. So how do you avoid that? So you plan each and every day. Before you start your day as an intern, you list down what you want to achieve pretty much. Today I want to do this and this, I want to achieve that and that, but always, always find space for yourself to breathe. You get tired, you're a human. Just try and get a balance. Like if you're tired, find time to rest. You can always talk to your colleague and say, okay, let's divide shifts or let's take a break and such at such a time. Then you have a lot of other pressures as an intern, because here in Zambia, I don't know about in Namibia, most of your peers or people our age believe we have a lot of money, like we're rich. So you get a lot of financial pressures as well. All in all, in Zambia, I think medical internship is one of the best civil service paying internships. So you do have the money, but because you spend so much time in the hospital and you rarely have time for yourself, you don't even have time to spend that money. So self-care, very important. Planning your day and setting daily goals, it can go a long way. And the best time to find true passion and make informed career choices is during your internship, because then you would have had a chance to go through each and every rotation. We do that during medical training, but it's very different. What you see as a student is going to be very different from what you see as an intern. When you're a student, you've got people above you who are making decisions for the patient. But when you're the intern, you are making decisions for the patient. So you get to see what you truly love. You get to understand where you can really fit in. And I could say I had chosen a career path when I was in medical school, but after doing my third rotation now, I have a clear picture of what I would really love to do for the rest of my life. So when you guys were still in school. You can make a decision now, but I think don't put yourself in a box or hinder us or block every other thought of doing any other specialization. Just be open-minded. When you come to your internship, you're going to appreciate other specialties. And if you're open-minded, you might even find yourself doing a specialty that you never thought about. So take internship as it comes, enjoy it. It's got its ups and downs. Sometimes you want to just quit your job, walk away, but you can't walk away because it's what you chose. Being in school for more than 5 years means you've chosen for life, you've set your goal and there's no turning back. So all in all, internship in Zambia can be really challenging sometimes, but it's a great place to learn. They teach you independence. You get to make decisions. You get to do things that probably other people in other places are not doing because it's something that they deem only the consultant can do or someone more senior. But here, depending on where you're interning from, like I said, if you're in a rural site, your surgical skills are going to be on point. If you're in a more urban site, your academics is going to be on point. So it's all about what you choose, where you want to do it from, what your goals are at the end of the day, and how you take care of yourself. So to conclude my little presentation, I have a note to self. So it is your race when you start an intern. You set your own pace. Don't compete with anyone. It's your race. It's your life. If you ever feel overwhelmed, always ask for time away. Self-care, very important. And the care you provide to the patient is only as good as that which you give to yourself. So you can't love someone 100% when you love yourself 5%. So as an intern, love yourself before you can love the patient. That way everyone is going to be happy and you're going to be a happy hero since they believe we are heroes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Christabel. I think that was really, really insightful. I like that you highlighted the fact that it's important to rest. As much as you're overworked, it's so important to rest and like to love yourself in order to love your patients better. I think that resonated a lot with me. And it was really interesting. Like I was noting some similarities that we have in our setting, but all in all, it sounds like a really good experience overall. And I see we already have some questions in the chat, but we'll address all the questions at the end of the second presentation. So moving on to our next speaker, we have Dr. Melka Nekongo, who's a second-year medical intern, currently completing her rotation in psychiatry at Windhoek Central Hospital in Windhoek, Namibia. She graduated from the class of 2019 at the University of Namibia School of Medicine. Personally, I'm working with Malka right now in psychiatry, and I've worked with her in orthopedics, and honestly, she's one of the most hardworking interns ever, and she shows vigor in all that she does. So this should be an exciting presentation. Welcome, Malka.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So I'll just be looking at the perspective of internship in Namibia. So far, I'm about to complete 2 years of internship. So this has been, this will be from my point of view, what I've experienced so far in internship. We can move on to the next slide, please. So as it was already mentioned, my name is Melka Nekongo, and I graduated in April 2019 and only got employed in July 2019 at the Windhoek Complex Hospital. So that is a combination of Kaviyo State Hospital as well as Windhoek Central Hospital in Namibia. So I'm due for, my internship is due for completion on the 27th of June 2021, if all goes well. And I'm currently rotating through psychiatry, as it was mentioned, and I completed medical school at the University of Namibia School of Medicine, now renamed as the Hagi Kinkob campus in Windhoek. So the enrollment process when it comes to internship in Namibia is that one usually has to graduate from medical school and then as soon as you're done, it's some procedures are done to the Ministry of Health, and then you apply for positions, and then they place you at several places. But then as time has gone by now, it has been taking a bit longer for one to transition from being a medical student to a medical intern, due to various factors that are beyond our control, such as finances and now the number of interns. So that can sometimes cause a delay in the in starting internship. But we only have 3 places to choose from, which is the Windhoek hospitals, and then Onanjoko, which is in the northern part of Namibia, as well as the Oshakati State Hospital, that is also in the northern part of the country. So we only have those 3 hospitals as teaching and training hospitals for internship in Namibia. Our internship has a minimum duration of 24 months. If an extension is necessary or it's needed, it is done at own cost. And now the Health Professional Council and the Ministry has become more stringent on the duration of internship. Previously, people could be doing internship for quite a long time and still be getting their internship salary. But now, since they have seen some defects in that system, and so now it is strictly 24 months. And if you need an extension, that is done at own cost. And all our rotations are mandatory. They are classified usually into major and minor rotations. The major ones being lasting 4 months, and the minor ones lasting 2 months. So the major rotations is now pediatrics, obstetrics and gynecology, internal medicine, and surgery. And then the minor ones is orthopedics, anesthesiology, psychiatry, and family medicine, where you only stay for 2 months in each rotation. But if it happens that you failed any of these rotations, then you'll have to come back or repeat the rotation or a specific duration of time, depending on the department decides how much time the department decides you need in order to polish up on those skills. So it can definitely take longer than 24 months. Next slide. So just as Christabel has said, we also have a logbook from the Health Professional Council that needs to be completed and signed by the heads of department and the senior medical officers as one goes through the various departments. So this logbook internship is one of the things that you guard with all your heart. You don't want to lose this logbook. You don't want anything to happen to this logbook, because your assessments are also recorded in the logbook. So this is one of the very important books that you only take when necessary when you're having evaluations, and you only take it when you're going to try and get it signed. And it's very important that as you're rotating through the various rotations that you get it signed on time, because sometimes you may go back to a rotation and say, I was in this rotation, and then somehow, somewhere, people cannot remember you. It was a long time ago. So it's very important that one is on time with the rotation and the signing. And also, if you need to repeat or come back to the department, everything is noted in this logbook. Your behavior throughout the department, everything is recorded in the logbook. So it really says a lot about you. Yes, can we move on? In terms of assessment of as an intern, different departments have various ways of assessing interns, but overall there's usually a midterm and then the end of rotation evaluation. We can either be theoretical, practical, or it can involve both aspects. So there's some departments also which have evaluations just before you begin the rotation, like on your first day or within the first 3 days. So, and then you have another one in the middle of the rotation at the end. So they can just see how you've been progressing, whether you've been improving, whether you've been learning something. So they can just track your progress throughout the rotation. Apart from written assessments, one's work ethic, interaction with various players in the department, and also patient interaction is continuously assessed from the moment you step into the department, how you present yourself, how you work along with other colleagues, how you address the nurses, how you speak to your patients. All of that is taken into consideration. The clinical skills and efficiency is also evaluated. So you're continuously, as much as you're learning, you are also continuously having people monitoring you. That is just something that you need to keep in the back of your mind, that as much as I'm here trying to help patients, that people are looking at you and seeing how you're doing things. And so you have to keep a certain level of professionalism and always take that into consideration, that if you're doing some things that it might actually be act negatively in your evaluations or your assessment. So you might pass a test, but because you behave badly or rudely towards a patient or a nurse, you might actually also have to repeat the rotation, not because your academic or your theory is bad, but just the fact that you interact, you're having difficulty interacting or working well with other members in the team, then it's something that you will have to relearn or address. So those are some of the things that one really needs to keep in mind. It's not just about passing tests, it's how you're working with people, how you're working with the patients. Yeah. Next slide, please. So I think this is a general thing, just as Christabel has said, teamwork is very, very important. Teamwork makes the dream work. So for success, one is to have a great relationship or context in the following areas, such as the senior doctors, your medical officers, medical students, because these people, I mean, they are really helpful. They can help you with the bloods. They can help you quickly run down and get something. So they're really helpful, as well as the consultants, just to get an opinion from them. And then the nurses, these should be your best friend, because nurses, sometimes people tend to overlook or underestimate each other's potential or capabilities. But then it's always good to remember that as much as you're a medical intern, you don't know it all. You just started work recently, and there are people who have learned from years of experience. So you can always learn from other people. It doesn't matter whether they are your superiors or people in other departments, but it's a continuous and a learning process. So you need to make these relationships work. As well as the security guards, because if there's an aggressive patient, they are the ones who are coming to your rescue. So the social workers, they help for your patients to be discharged earlier, and for the social issues to be sorted out, so that the patient doesn't always have to come back to the hospital with the same complaints. Your porters, the cleaners, these people are your best friends. The radiographers, sonographers, radiologists, the pharmacists, these people are really the ones that help you to write the correct dosages and write the correct drugs, because sometimes your post-call, you're tired, you tend to forget, or you tend to understand things. But if you really need to communicate with these people, because they can help direct you and make your work so much easier, as well as the lab technicians, your IT technicians, and the drivers, the hospital drivers, the ones who are coming to collect the blood samples, the ones who have to drive you to the next hospital quickly. So if you have great and professional working relationship with these people, internship becomes much smoother. Yeah. Next slide, please. I think one of the things that are really important in internship, we constantly have to remind ourselves that we are working with people. We should be guided by the ethics, informed consent. These things that we learned at school, they're just not taught to us for nothing. Informed consent, non-maleficence, beneficence. We should keep that in mind, especially informed consent, respecting your patient's privacy, getting consent for anything, any procedure, explaining to your patient what you're about to do to them and why you're doing that. And also being honest is very important. It goes a long way. Even if it's something bad, made a mistake, just be honest instead of lying, because lies do catch up with you. And once you lie, it becomes very difficult for people to trust you. Just be honest with you, with yourself, with your level of your skills level, and also just with the things that you're able to do and unable to do, the things that you know and don't know. So be honest also with your seniors. Punctuality is very, very important, because time is very important in medicine. We know time is brain, time is heart, time is everything. Be polite and respectful. Doesn't matter how the other person approaches you, be polite and respectful. Take responsibility and be accountable, because you want people, you also, even if you're working in a team, you want to work with somebody that's reliable, somebody that if we agree on something that this should be done by tomorrow, we come back and that is done. Or if it's not done, somebody says, no, it's my fault, this wasn't done, but I take responsibility for that. Also, one has to remember that in internship, it's not just about you, it's the whole team. You can't expect to be the one shining and then the whole team everybody else is doing their own thing and you think that's fine. It still reflects badly on the whole group. So you need to be hardworking. So medicine is really not for the faint-hearted. And you also need to learn how to work smart, because it's a lot of work already that needs to be done. So learn how to divide work up in a smart way. Okay, you get to rest for these hours, then I get to check up on the patient for this hour, and then this is the only way that you can at least get some time to rest in between, and also get some time to take in, eat something, quickly go to the toilet, or quickly check up on a patient, quickly read up on something. These can only work if you have a sense of teamwork, you are hardworking, and you can somehow figure out a way to work smart. You must be willing throughout the whole process to learn, unlearn, and relearn things. Because things are not the same. Medicine is always changing. So what you knew yesterday, which was correct then, may no longer be correct today. So we must always be eager to learn, unlearn, and relearn skills, and also know your limits and keep healthy boundaries. By knowing your limits, you should know what you're capable of. Let me give an example of, let's say, you have never inserted an intercostal drain before. Just be honest and say, I've read about the procedure, but I've never done it before. Do you mind showing me first how to do it, or do you mind supervising me as I'm doing it, instead of just going in blindly, and then later on the patient has complications, and then you're asked, did you know of this before, and then you say no. So that's how we should know our limits, and then also keep healthy boundaries. Next, please. I put this slide there, burnout versus tap out. Burnout is a reality in any professional's life, especially in demanding careers like medicine. It's a reality. It can happen to anybody. Nobody is immune to this. So I said burnout versus tap out. So you can just know when enough is enough, and you just really say, okay, I really need a break. Because time is limited. So one must frequently prioritize and make realistic plans. You can't say yes to all the invites you get. You can't attend everybody's birthday party. You can't be there for everybody's baptism, graduation party. You can't be there for the funerals in the family, the weddings. This is the honest truth. You can't and you won't always be there. So you should be realistic with what you're capable of, what is within your power, what is not. Especially as you're going through rotations, you can't make fixed plans, book a ticket for flying to another country, while you are not getting that rotation and you don't know whether you'll be allowed leave or not. So these are some of the things you should keep in mind. Learn to do things that make you happy and that keep you motivated, especially on your lowest days. because, okay, for you're earning money and coming from big families, you have to support this one and that person and everybody. It seems like everybody wants a piece of you, but you also need to understand that you also need to do things that make you happy. Just take some time out, sit quietly. If you're tired, you haven't rested in a few days, you go and get yourself a massage. You just go and sit down at a restaurant with a friend and talk quietly, enjoy your favorite meal, you know, put on your, or buy yourself the expensive perfume that you've always wanted. Just do things that really keep you motivated. Because there will be days where you're wondering, oh, did I make the right choice when I came into this career? Like, why do I have to every day, you know, wake up early, go to bed late, you know? So some of those things will keep you motivated so that you can be able to afford your very expensive perfume, or so that you can be able to, you know, take care of your family, or so that you can be able to change people's life, you know. So you frequently need to remind yourself of why you are in this and why you need to do this. And frequently also share how you feel, what you're thinking of, and what you're going through with trusted ones. So preferably those who understand the process, because not everybody understands it. Just like, but school is school. Everybody went to school, and work is work. What's so special about your work? You know, people who don't understand that you're on call, you can't always make it on time, even though you said you thought you might be coming on time, but then there's an emergency, you know, somebody's bleeding out. So you can't just stand around and be like, okay, guys, I have an appointment, that's it, because you made an oath. And so, so you need people who are understanding and who can share in your pain, who can relate to what you're going through. And also remember that we are human and therefore prone to human meetings. We are no exception as doctors. Mistakes do happen. We should learn to forgive ourselves, forgive our colleagues, and also just take responsibility. It's all part of the process. Not making mistakes is not what makes you the best doctor or the greatest doctor, but learning from your mistakes is one of the things that's very important. Things are going to happen, and things might happen and will happen, but just to learn how to deal with it. Next slide, please. Finally, we should remember that everyone's journey is unique. So we must not tend to generalize. Because you find as people are going through various rotations, you'll, you know, this rotation is like this and like that. There are these horrible people there, or it's so difficult, or you never get to pass the test, and it doesn't matter how hard you're working, people don't appreciate what you're doing. I prefer that people don't don't take this in as your truth. Don't take it in as everything. So just know that everyone's journey is unique. So what if somebody had a horrible experience in that rotation doesn't mean you're also going to have a horrible experience in the rotation. So go in with a positive mindset, because that way you get to see more positive things and you get to focus on the positive and therefore get more positive feedback as well. Instead of going in with a negative mindset and then seeing all the wrong things that people said you'll go and see in that rotation or in that department. Also take it in stages, one day at a time. We are not perfect and we're still learning, and that's why we are here, and that's why internship is there, because we are dealing with lives and we need to learn certain skills that require time. And so we should be able to be patient with ourselves as well, and be real with yourself. Always remember why you chose this work, you know, why medicine, why did you go to medical school? Just always remember why you started this in the first place. Don't compare yourself with others. Just as Phiri said, you know, don't compete with others. Don't compare yourself with others. Everyone is different. And then do not take things personally and take offense, that it's all part of the process. If you see your senior was yelling at you or scolded you in front of the patients or whatever happens, don't take it personally. I'm a horrible person. I'm a horrible doctor. I'll never make it in life. I'm really stupid. I'm really this and that. that will not help. Just take it as, okay, all right, a mistake there. I should have read up on the patient's condition, but I didn't, and it was my mistake. But then don't take it as, oh, my senior hates me, I won't pass this rotation. So just learn to take things as they are and not take them personally. Learn to take criticism positively. Next slide, please. Next slide, or I think we are done. So
I think we lost Dr. Melka, but she's still here. Malka. Okay, while she's trying to reconnect or coming back on, you guys can type your questions in the chat box so long.
okay. So in conclusion, I just like I just want to say it is what it is, because you might be, internship can be tough because you might be the only barrier between a patient's life and death, but you can also only give what you have. That's why you also very, very importantly need to take care of yourself, because you're your greatest asset, you know. So if you're running on empty, if you're running on low, that's what you're going to give people. You know, you become grumpy, you're hungry, you haven't had a toilet break the whole day. And so that's how your interactions are going to be like, you know, and people say you're rude, or you're not a good doctor, or you know, you don't know what you're doing, but you were tired. And that's why self-care is really, really, really very important. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Malka. I think it was, again, so insightful, and specifically highlighting things that also Dr. Christabel highlighted, like the teamwork and the important ethical principles to have. I think those are important things that we should, most of us are senior students, that we should be taking in right now. So all in all, I think it was a really good presentation from both speakers. Thank you very much. And I don't know if it's only me that noticed that both speakers only kind of mentioned the things that are bad about internship. Like, are there no good things in your internship life? Or is it because it's the biggest like misconception that most people are scared of it because of all these things that you guys chose to speak about? I think that's the best way to start off the Q&A section. So you guys can just answer that while we wait for more questions in the chat.
I like that, Violet. Well, I said it's a high-paying job. That's a good thing, right?
Oh yes, that was a good point.
And you're a hero. That's a good thing too, right? Okay, yeah. So there's a lot of bad. That's what I was saying. I think even Melka has emphasized, like, you really have to of yourself as an intern. You rarely see the good. Maybe one of my highest points would be a patient comes really critical and I make the right decision at the right time, and my senior comes and reinforces that the decision I made was good. It's very fulfilling. It's a very fulfilling feeling when a patient comes and you actually save their life. One of the best moments.
Okay, that's really good to hear. So you feel like your passion is still being fueled. Dr. Malka, maybe you can share some of your highlights.
Highlights of internship. it's then actually patients say thank you. And that really melts my heart. And when you see your patients recover, you know, when you have a baby coming severely malnourished and now the baby couldn't walk and do anything, and now you see the baby's walking out of the hospital. It's just one of the greatest joy. They realize what a privilege it is that you're doing medicine, that you're given this opportunity to work with the human body and improve somebody's health status. Apart from that, I feel like medicine is quite intrusive. Like you go deep into a person's life, and then once people, you know, tell you things and they're like, doctor, I feel so much better that I told you that now, or that we've discussed that, or now, you know, it just brings so much joy. And then when your consultants, like the specialists, are like, we want you back in our department, please, we want you to stay, you've done very well. Just those little compliments, and it's really not much to ask for, but it's those little things that keep you going, that you're like, okay, at least I had sleepless nights for a good reason. I haven't eaten for a good reason. And I haven't had a toilet break for a good reason. My highlights, I just feel like breaking into tears and be like wanting to hug my patients, but yeah, can't do that. Yeah.
Okay, that's really, really good to hear that there are good things, and especially that you focus on the little things. Okay, we can address the first question. It's from Dr. Shahama. He's asking, can you guys both highlight the skills that are not taught in medical school but are very much needed in internship? So maybe we can go with Dr. Malka first, and then Dr. Christabel.
Sorry, Violet, may you please repeat that question? I didn't get it. You were breaking up.
Oh, it says, can you guys highlight the skills that were not taught in medical school but are very much needed for internship?
All right. From my side, I think one of the things that weren't taught in medical school is budgeting, how to work with your finances. But it's very important. It's very, very important once you start getting a salary to know what to do with your money. And even the other thing is how you start working, like some of us are straight from school into, you know, school into university, and then from university, then you start working. You don't know about things like life covers and life insurance and these things, and people just approach you, no, you need a life cover, you need this, but you still don't understand what's the importance of this, or how does it fit in, is it relevant to me as an intern, do I really need that? You know, so I think some of these things are important just to be taught before you graduate, or just to have an idea of why is this important in my life, or how does it relate to me as an intern. And then also the other one is maybe time management and self-care, like when learning how to say no, like, okay, now I cannot anymore, I have to tap out, and that it's normal and it's okay to tap out, to ask for some time out, and to say, you know what, I think I'm having a nervous breakdown right now, or, you know, I'm feeling really depressed, like I need help right now, and not just you know, sweeping it under the carpet, like I'm tired, I don't know, but just really seeing things for what they are and being honest with yourself. Yeah, I think those are some of the important things. The financial aspect of things, those once you employ the insurances, the what those many things, and then self-care and just needing some time out. Yeah. I think those are some of the things in time management, basically. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Christabel?
Yeah, I totally agree with Dr. Melka. Like, those are very important things that they never teach us in medical school, and you just find yourself feeling really overwhelmed. Like, they just threw you in the deep end and you don't know what to do. So on top of what she's mentioned, they never really tell us that when you become an intern, you're not just caring for the patient's physical health, you're also caring for their mental health. So I found myself in situations many times where I actually have to counsel people about things outside their health. For example, I had an incident where a woman came with a broken rib and she didn't say exactly why it was broken. She lied, well, but like after treating her and everything, she finally confides in me to say, no, actually my husband beats me up and stuff like that. So you find yourself being an intern who's not married, but you have to offer marital advice, or you have to do marriage counseling to this couple. So they don't teach us the psychological part, if I should say that. They teach us health, yeah. We know the definition of health is spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical well-being. But I think when we're in medical school, we focus more on the physical health. But I guess you guys who still have an opportunity should also try and find time to learn counseling. I don't know if I should call it counseling or psychological management, because you have a lot of situations where you have to care for a patient. They are fine now, they are well nourished, they are working, so to say, but they still have a lot of physical stress that you need to deal with. And it's on you. You're the doctor. They expect that by the time they're going home, everything is going to be okay. Also, they don't teach us how to take care of ourselves, basically. So they teach us go, go, go. They don't teach us to take time. Like Melka said, we need to learn to understand at this point I can't do it. They don't teach us that in medical school. In medical school, they teach us have to keep going, go, go, go. Even if you're tired, you have to do it, but learn when to stop. When it's enough for me, I can't do this anymore. Learn when to say no. Yeah.
Okay, that's actually so interesting. And we are always so quick to say in the patient's plan, refer to social worker, refer to psychologist, but like sometimes the patient needs something in that moment that you need to be able to offer them. So it's good for us to hear this. So we also try to work on it and, learn those things by ourselves and not expect to be taught it in school, because clearly they don't do it. And then on to the next question. When do you start building trust profile with your senior colleagues? When you're in medicine school or just after starting internship?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So maybe it's easier for you guys in Melka, for example, said they only have 3 internship sites in Namibia, but here we have over 10 internship sites, and we only have like 3 medical universities. One is just coming up now. So if you're going to build trust with your seniors, it's going to be for people who are going to do their internship at a particular site. So for example, if you're at UNZA, and we normally do our clinicals from UTH, it's easy for you then to build your trust with your seniors as a student, because those are the people you're going to work under as an intern. But if you're going to go to a place like Chinsali, it's very far from many of the universities. You're going to find people you've never known. Then you're going to have to establish trust once you're on site. So it's both-sided. You can build trust when you're still a medical student, then you can also build trust after being a student when you start your internship. But I guess it would be good to already start building confidence or making yourself or your presence known whilst you're still a student. Because people talk, like Melka probably works at this facility, but her and I talk would be like, oh, do you know a student called Amanda? Or she hasn't been doing so well, or she's been doing really well. So either way, as a student, still start building yourself, make your presence known, such that even if you don't work at a particular facility where you were interacting with your seniors whilst you're a student, in a setting where your seniors meet and you come up, they'll still be able to put out a good word for you. So you do it both. You do it whilst you're still a student, then you also do it when you start your internship.
I completely agree with Christabel. Like for us, what was happening like in my year is that we go to medical school here, and then majority of us now, then you rotate in the Windhoek hospitals, then there's in the 5th year would go also to the northern hospitals where you rotate. So you kind of build rapport, or you have a certain relationship. You know the consultants, the doctors there, you know how the hospital runs over there. You also have an idea of how the hospital here runs. And then apart from that, you know, these people are the same people. They are your examiners, they are your teachers, your lecturers, and so they also have a kind of an expectation that I taught you this, I taught you in 4th year this, I taught you in 3rd year this, and they have very good memory. So the trust is you built it. The foundation is laid when you're a student, and you build on it as you're an intern. And now, you know, because they're trying to reap what they've sowed in you. So yeah, it continues. It's a continual process. It's not a once-off thing. Yeah.
Okay.
And also, I think the one thing before I forget is that it is also important for your references. If you want to complete, if you want to, let's say, specialize in a certain department, or a special, you want to go and specialize, you need references from these people, and they need to be able to, you know, to say something based in your character, on your work ethic, how you've been in the department. So it's very, very important actually that you build trusting relationships with your seniors. Not as to say to become too friendly, boundaries always need to be there, but then also just for them to know that, okay, this is a good intern, she takes care of the patients, I can trust her with this, she has really, she comes through when she's put under pressure, she doesn't crack, or even if it's enough, she can say, no, it's enough, doctor, I can't anymore, you know. So all of this is important.
Nice, that's so insightful. So I'll just ask the questions that I directed to both of you guys again before we go into the personal questions, like to the questions that are specific for each doctor. So the next one is to our speakers, what has been the hardest rotation amongst the ones you've done so far, and how did you manage to cope? And then I'll just like to add on to Anthony's question to ask the both of you guys, like, how do you guys deal with losing a patient or coping with death in general, especially someone that you cared for from when they were admitted, or maybe an accident happened that you might have been a part of? How do you guys deal with those kind of situations? Whoever feels more ready can go first.
Okay. So one of the, I think for me, one of the hardest rotations were pediatrics for some reason. Pediatrics is really hard for me because during my pediatric rotation, you know, pediatrics it's very weird because every baby is important, every life matters, and every baby is somebody's baby, and everybody wants to see their child well, you know. The parents are there, and our consultants are really passionate about what they're doing. So every baby's life matters. And you know, babies don't say, I'm sick here, I'm sick there. You have to do all investigations, and you know, you have to figure out everything for them. You take the birth history, immunizations, it's a lot. But I think the thing that made it very difficult for me was the fact that during the time that I was going through the pediatric rotation, at the same time that we went into lockdown, and then COVID started, and then I actually ended up having almost like a nervous breakdown in pediatrics because I was tired. We ended up being very few. I was tired, and then we were isolated because you can't visit people at home, and you couldn't move around as much as you want to. And so I really found it very difficult, because I'm a person, knowing myself, I'm a person who thrives on human interaction. It's how it's what makes it easier for me. It's how I live and stuff. But now I was very isolated, and then I'm just hearing, you know, alarms in the background. If I'm in the prem unit, it's just alarms or babies crying. So I also started crying with the babies. But yeah, that's why it was hard, but not really that the people in the department were horrible, or that the tests were hard or anything. No, it was just that the fact that as I was going through pediatrics, it was the same time we went into lockdown, and then we got isolated, and so anxiety and everything. Yeah, but then I managed to pull through, and then I just had to call in my seniors and be like, you know, I can't make it to Mike. I was even supposed to call in the second day. I'm like, I can't make it. Unfortunately, I can't, because I just started feeling like I'm losing it now. And then, yeah, but fortunately, it just lasted like 2 hours. I was so tired that I ended up even having a needle prick injury the next time I was on call. So it was really trying times for me in pediatrics. But yeah, that sometimes happens.
Yeah, it gets really overwhelming. I really understand the whole dynamic of peds. The patient doesn't talk. All you get from the mom is, my baby is not sucking. And you have to figure it out from that. For me, my hardest rotation is OBS now, where I am. I think I'm finding it really, really challenging. So Milka is talking about how every baby is important. In my case, every baby and every mother is important. So I'm responsible for 2 people at one time. And yeah, everyone is on you. You don't get praised for doing the correct thing, but they will castigate you for doing the wrong thing.
Yeah,
all the time. So you always find yourself looking over your shoulder, because you don't know when you're going to make a mistake. You don't know if you've done the right thing. You're constantly counter-checking what you've done. You can hardly take those breaks that we talked about. Like, you want to take a pee break, but someone needs to be reviewed every 2 hours. So they like literally watching them every second so that nothing can go wrong, and you're castigated the following morning. But how I'm dealing with it, I guess now it's been 3 months, and I've managed to find a balance. First of all, establishing trust with the people you're working with comes back to teamwork. So in OBS, I noticed you have to be really in good relations with the midwives. They know so much. I've learned so much from them personally. Again, humility. Like, you can't walk into a labor ward, for example, and act like you know it all because you're an intern and you spent 7 years in school, and the midwife just spent 4 years in school. They actually have more experience than me, and they've seen a lot more. And each and every day I walk into labor ward, I learn something new from them. So that's one way I'm dealing with it. Being humble, bringing myself to a level where I can learn from the next person, not because they are better than me or I'm better than them, but we are all here for the good of the patient. Also, still finding a balance, having planning, timing, if I should call it that, knowing I should be able to do a review of the whole ward. If I have 13 patients, I should be able to do a round at 14, make sure I have a list of everyone and what their condition is. Then I can take an hour break or so, and I'll be back at 14, and I know nothing would have changed because I already assessed them before I left. So time management has really helped me get through my hurdles in OBS. And I guess it's getting better. It's getting better with the more I establish trust with the people I'm working with, the more I learn from them, and the better I manage my time. Then dealing with losing a patient, it's a tough one. I still find it really hard up to now. I don't know if there's a way of coping, really. Even my seniors still have a hard time coping. Like, I remember the time I was doing my internal medicine rotation, we received a patient, very stable, didn't look like someone who would die. Then he suddenly just had a seizure, and he aspirated on his own saliva and died. So I received a text message from my senior almost midnight saying, hey, I can't sleep about that patient. So you see, this is someone who's been working for like 10 years or so, and they still haven't found coping mechanisms with losing a patient. So I guess it takes time. Also, what I've learned is being able to find peace with yourself. When you you put in your best, you've done what you could for the patient, and they still die, the outcome is still bad. You have to not blame yourself. You have to learn to appreciate that you did the best that you could in that particular time, and find peace with yourself that this has happened, and you blaming yourself is not going to change the outcome. I guess that's one way I'm trying to deal with grief or losing a patient. Otherwise, there's a lot of death in the hospital, and if you do fail to deal with your emotions, you're going to break down really easily, and it's going to affect how you manage the other patients. So try to find a place of peace in your heart when you lose a patient. Look at the good things you've done for them, then be at peace that you did what you could, and there's nothing you could have done differently, I think.
Malka, would you like to add on how you cope with death? Okay, it appears we have gone a little bit beyond time. So first of all, speakers, would you want us to continue with questions? And as well as to the audience, would you guys like us to continue with the rest of the questions? Just an indication in the chat box, and then from the speakers, you can just say if you would want to continue with more questions. Can you all hear me?
We could finish up the questions. I don't know what Melka thinks.
Melka, your mic is muted. Sorry.
Sorry, I was just saying that I don't mind answering all the questions. And also I just wanted to say that I actually forgot to answer the part of the question of how to deal with losing a patient.
Okay, you can go ahead and answer it.
All right, I think the first time I lost a patient and actually really felt like, normally you lose a patient and you feel bad, but you're like, okay, that can happen, or if the patient's condition was bad. But this time around, the time that I lost a patient and I really felt so bad and so sad, and was in obstetrics. It was, I think, a high-risk pregnancy, a mother who was in our ward, and we were monitoring her. I think she had a preeclampsia, and then we do now the daily checks, you know, the tachographs, it's, you know what, the ECGs for the babies, sorry.
The CTG.
Yes, CTGs. And then also daily sonar checks. So I did that on the mother just a few, I was on the night shift. So I did that like a few hours before. In the morning when I came to repeat the sonar, I realized there was no heartbeat. And it was the first, you know, it's something when the patient comes in and you're fine and the baby is already dead. But now the heartbeat was there just like a few hours ago. And now the heartbeat is no longer there. And I looked for it, and I tried to look for, you know, cardiac activity. Is there really nothing? And then going back, I felt really bad and sad because this patient was high risk. She came to us for help, for us to monitor her, yet we still couldn't save her baby. So, and she was almost due for a cesarean section. So I felt really horrible. I just started crying, and I was so shocked first, and then in the meeting I was doing the report, I started crying. But I just allowed the fact that people just allowed me, and I wasn't even trying to hold it back. I just cried freely that, we lost the baby. We couldn't save the baby. And I was so sad. But then how I deal with it is that if I'm sad about something, or I address it then. And then if I come home, I tell somebody what I went through at work, or that I'm feeling sad because of this. I get to cry about it and then move on. I don't bottle up my emotions. And that way I can move on and freely without having, bottling up stuff and then breaking down in the middle of something else. So that's how I basically dealt with it. I don't think so far there's any other death that was as sad as that one, because that one was, I don't know, I just maybe felt like a special connection to this baby, to this unborn baby. And it was just really a blow, big blow, yeah. But then I didn't take it as my fault, but there was a part of me that felt guilty, even though as seniors, everybody looked at the CTGs, but no one picked up there was something abnormal. Later going back, everybody found, okay, there was actually some abnormal activity on the CTG, but somehow we all missed it. So I felt that made me feel better, better that it just, I didn't slip up, everybody slipped up, and yeah. Some things are beyond our control.
Sure, that's so sad, but I'm glad that you're moving past it. So I think only one person responded that we should continue with the questions, but I think the fact that people are still here, I think you guys are also interested in the questions in the Q&A session. But for those of you who want to leave, we still just want to say thank you so much for making time out of your Saturday to listen to this kind of talk. We hope it was insightful, and if you missed it or would like to see the Q&A session, it will be recorded and uploaded onto our YouTube channel. So yeah, we just really want to say thank you guys for attending, and you may leave quietly. And then another question that's for both of you and not individual is, someone is asking, what are the factors that go into, wait, let me just read it properly. Yes, as an intern, what factors go into choosing which field of medicine you want to specialize in?
I think if I have to start, for me, it depends on, for me, the working environment is very important, because how my experiences in that department kind of determine whether I'd also like to return and work in that department or not, because the people that are in that department, these people are going to be my colleagues, my seniors. And what are their opinions of me? What do they think of me? Do they think I'm fit for the job in their department? Because either way, they will be my future colleagues. So the working environment, what the people's opinion in the department of my skills also. And also the other thing is how the specialization would fit into my long-term plans. Like, do I want to be a family lady? Because then you want to do something that will allow you to spend some time with your children. So you can't have a job that is always dealing with emergencies. Like, I remember when I was at school, I liked Obs and Gynae very much. I thought I might even go into Obs and Gynae. I still consider it, but it's one of those departments, like, emergency is an emergency. There's no time to take a cup of tea. That baby will come out. There's no time to say, let me quickly go and tea. That baby will be out while you're not there. So it's one of those, and everybody's, it's not only the baby, it's a mother. And it's one of the departments also that is frequently, you take those things into consideration. So do I want to be able to have a holiday, to have some time to rest, some time to recharge? So those are some of the things that go into consideration too. And then what else? The duration of studies, but the duration of studies is really not so much of a thing for me. It's just maybe the ease of getting into the program, like into the master's program, or yeah, I think that's really it. But for me, the working environment and whether the people over there also want me back or not, that plays a huge role. everything else you can maneuver around it.
Yeah, so like Melka said, you need to write down all those factors and list them down. Like, do you really enjoy it? When we are medical students, we all choose this one place that we probably enjoy, but the dynamics are different when you're actually the intern on the ground. I too really loved obs. I'm like, I'm going to be an obstetrician. But now you do your obstetrics and gynecology rotation during internship, and the dynamics are so different. You ask yourself things like, do I want to be the person who's always put on the spot? Like, why did this patient die? Why did this baby have such and such an APGAR score? So you start restructuring your decision as you go through the rotations. What's suitable for you? Mostly what's enjoyable, like, do you enjoy it? So I think that's one of the most important factors for me is, did I enjoy this rotation? Do I have mentors in this rotation that I can look up to? And if I do decide to go this direction, there's someone I'm going to be able to say, oh, hey, I want to take a path like this, and they're going to mentor me in that path. You have to consider, where do you want to train from? Do you want to train where you are at the moment, or is the specialty you're choosing going to require you to travel? Then that brings in factors of family. If it's going to require you to travel to another place, do you want to get married then? And what's going to be the dynamic with your husband or your wife if you have to leave for how many years to do this study? And are you going to work where you're going to study, or you're going to come back? So there's a lot to consider. Do you enjoy it? Do you have mentors? What's it going to cost you? How long is it going to take you? And what's the plan after you're done? You have to think about all those things. So then, and medical career is very dynamic. I guess that's the other thing. Again, they don't teach us when we're in medical school. They don't tell us you can do a lot of other things when you're done with medical school other than being in the hospital.
Yeah.
So we are living in an era where we are moving a lot towards preventive medicine. So there's a lot to do now. You don't necessarily have to be a doctor in the hospital. There's academics, you can become a lecturer. There's research, you can go into research, just write papers. You can go into public health. Like, there's so much to do. So I guess it could even just be a topic for another day where you talk about career progression in medicine and specialization. Otherwise, there's the factors Melka has mentioned, and some of the things I've listed are the things that you should literally write a list and tick for you to choose what specialty you're actually going to choose.
Malka, you can add.
No, I'm in total agreement with her, really. I'm in total agreement. And you'll be shocked also as a student, departments that you didn't enjoy when you come back as an intern, you will find that these are some of the departments where people see you as a person, they regard you, they have respect for you, and they appreciate your work, they acknowledge your hard work, and you'll be shocked and you want to come back. There are also some departments where you are good, but you don't necessarily enjoy it. You're just good because you're just doing, trying to help the patient, and you're just doing your job. But then you really have no passion for it, like, standing long hours in theater, you don't know whether you're going to like that or not, whether you find that boring, So there are really quite a number of things that you need to put into consideration, and the fact that there's so much more to medicine, that there are other areas of medicine that haven't been explored, sports medicine, rehabilitation medicine. And so let us not be just confined to peds, obs and gynae surgery, internal medicine, and these other ones. There's so much more you can become.
Yeah.
That fits your personality and your life plan.
Sure.
That's good to hear. And I think that's really a good idea of us having a future topic of career progression into medicine, because a lot of people want to bypass internship. So it would be nice if people can be informed about which careers they can go into where they don't have to go through internship and, working as an 8 to 5 doctor. And not even 8 to 5, more than 8 to 5. And okay, So now we can go into the individual questions for Dr. Malka, then we'll go into the individual questions for Dr. Christabel. So for Malka, Anthony wants to know, where are the 3 sites of internship in Namibia? Can you specify like which ones are urban and which ones are rural? And then also Amanda wants to know, do you have a week where you go to the hospital, you will work before you actually start internship, or do you have to go blindly like on your first day? And do you have any contact with other members of the team before you start? Like basically, do you know where you are starting? Do you have an idea of who you'll be starting with? And do you go in blindly, or do you guys get like a week before to go to these places?
Okay, starting with Anthony's question, Windhoek is the most urban one, followed by Oshakati, because Oshakati is more urban rural, and then Onanjokwe is the most rural one. So, but Onanjokwe and Oshakati are closer to one another. So usually if you have patients at Onanjokwe that need some kind of specialized care, they are referred to Oshakati. So, and then Windhoek, Oshakati, it's very, only sometimes that you'd find Oshakati referring to Windhoek, because Oshakati is also one of the big hospitals. So then Windhoek would receive all the patients from the other side of the country, east, west, south part of the country. So we are Windhoek, more urban, Oshakati, urban, rural, and then Nanjokwe, rural. And then for Amanda's question, what is Amanda's question again?
She's asking, a week, do you go for like orientation, basically a week before internship, or do you go in blindly? Do you know who you'll be starting with and in what rotation you'll be starting?
Okay, so what happens is that they're normally leaders or representatives that people vote, and there's normally WhatsApp groups where people have groups like for the interns that are starting in May, June, or July. And then what happens is that the hospital, like a month or so where you're already going, where you are in place. So there's time for you to prepare as to, I'm going to where I need this, or you can arrive there earlier, and then you can also go into contact, the seniors over there, people from your school, or people that are there, and just try and familiarize yourself with the area if you've never been there to the specific hospitals as a student. Apart from that, the specific hospitals also try to arrange like an orientation program for the incoming interns. So, and that is usually the job of the intern committees of that specific hospital, to try and orientate the incoming interns. So there are programs really, and if you want to, you can even just join your seniors on rounds and stuff, and you just tell the doctors, no, I'm a intern that's going to be starting soon, but I just want to familiarize myself with the department because I'll be starting here within a month's time or within a week's time. So all of that you are free to do. And there are also things in place, but it's not compulsory or forced. It just helps you because the seniors will be telling you what to expect and how things are run in the hospital. Yeah.
Okay, before we move on to Dr. Christabel, I had like 3 other questions that I wanted to ask as well for Dr. Malka. So first of all, do you have any choice in which hospital you can do your internship at? Secondly, do you have a choice or do you have influence over where you can do your internship? And then secondly, you said that the minimum is 24 months for internship, but sometimes doctors can decide that you need to come back for a certain amount of time. Are they fixed periods, or is it just depending on how much more they feel like you deserve? Because, for example, a major rotation is 4 months, and let's say you fail it, do you automatically come back for 4 months, or can the doctors decide that no, you only need to do 2, or maybe you even need more, like you need to do 6 months? And then how exactly does applying for MOship work? Like once you are done with internship, can you apply to any departments, and then obviously going to where you were called back for first? But let's say worst case scenario, nobody called you back, nobody's interested in you. Like what's the way forward for you? Do you apply for a job like a normal person, like everybody else does, or just approach the internship after internship. We'd like to have an overview on that.
Okay. Starting with what is the first one? Having short-term memory loss.
Okay, let's go one at a time. Influence over where you do internship. Can you choose where you want to go?
You can choose, but sometimes you may not get what you want. So you can choose, but sometimes you choose. There's an element of choosing, but you're also placed, and sometimes you're placed randomly. So what can happen is that if you want to switch from one place to another, you can maybe try and swap with somebody else. But usually these delays, and sometimes it can get very complicated. But that's why you have like a month or so where you know where you're going, where you're placed. So you have time to negotiate whatever you want during that time. But yeah, you there's an element of choosing. It's not 100%. So you choose, but yeah, you can be placed anyway. And then when it comes to now, the rotations, if you fail a rotation, there's no way that they can, let's say you are in a major rotation, so you're doing 4 months, you failed it, they cannot give you more than 4 months, because that will be bit weird. I've never had of that, unless you fail the first 4 months, the second 4 months, and then you'll end up having you can spend a year in a rotation, so because of continuous failing. So they can say, no, okay, maybe you didn't turn up for your test, or you didn't pass your test, so we expect you back for 2 months. Or no, you are good, but I think we can just improve on this area, so we just want you to come back for 1 more month. So it's, yeah, or for 3 more months. So they can't have you back for more than the 4 months unless you fail those 4 months, or you're continuously failing, which means something is really wrong, you know. So it depends. It depends on your evaluation and what was wrong within your evaluation, and how much time or how much faster you can improve as well. Yeah. In terms of MOship after internship, I'm not 100% sure about the process, but this is how I understand it currently, because this is what I'll be going through within a few months' time. So sometimes in departments call you back, and then they do interviews while you're still an intern, like you're about to finish. And sometimes what can happen is that you can apply already, speak to the seniors, try and find out if there are a post available, and then you apply to the specific department. Otherwise, you can also, you're done with the internship, so you get, now you get, I don't know how, you registered as a medical officer, and then you want to go and work in private, you can do that. And then the other thing is, previously, it would just so happen that, okay, the various departments, because there were few people and they had so many posts, people would immediately finish and go into, or just continue from an intern to a medical officer in the department. But yeah, nothing is guaranteed. So it's either you go back to where people call you. Sometimes departments call you. You didn't apply for them, but then they say, no, come for an interview and we need you. We think you can help us in this department. So it's either they call you, you apply, or you quit the state and then you go private. Yeah, so those are the various ways. But then also people are usually, it's almost like a small competition of everybody wants the best, to get the best for themselves quickly. So yeah. But now it is, like I said, system is changing and things are taking a bit longer than before. So I don't know what to expect.
Okay, thank you. I think you've answered everything well. We'll move on to the questions to Dr. Christabel, because we don't want to extend the event too long. So Dr. Christabel, Amanda would like to know, do you rotate around the different hospitals? And also you mentioned you have responsibility over lab techs, nurses, and bedside, etc. What are some leadership and communication tools you found in your experience that helped on this job?
Okay, so we don't rotate around hospitals. So you are attached to a particular hospital and you just rotate through the various departments in that particular facility. Then on communication skills, well, mostly it's you knowing you're a leader, but in as much as you're a leader, you don't rub it in the next person's face. So humility, first of all, knowing you can talk to someone without being demeaning to them helps them establish trust with you. And also creating rapport most of the time. So you, first of all, establish a relationship with the people you are working with around. Then you'll be able to give them instructions without them feeling some type of way about it, and you'll be able to send them to do this and that with them knowing you're not doing it out of spite, but you're doing it because all of you have to work together for the sake of the patient. So it's first develop rapport, use correct terms or language, like have barriers. You can't talk to the consultant the same way you talk to a student or the same way you talk to a nurse, or the way you talk to your friends at home. Language is very important. Always be professional and be humble, pretty much. Don't rub it in everyone's face that you went to school for the longest time and you probably get better money than them, but just find level ground with everyone. That way you'll be able to work in a conducive environment, because the nurses can make life hard for you if you seem too high and mighty. So you just have to be really humble. It's helped me a lot.
Okay, thank you very much. I've addressed all the questions in the chat, and we also don't want to prolong the meeting for too long. You see, we're losing people already. But I would just really like to say thank you so much to our two speakers. I think it was so insightful. Like, everybody here learned something today about that will benefit their lives or their career. And thank you so much for the two of you willing to do this. And from Phoenix MedEd, we wish you well in finishing internship and becoming medical doctors. And we hope to hear more from you, or just see you guys achieving all your goals and dreams in the future. And then I don't know if Anthony would like to say anything.
I think much has been said. Thank you very much, everyone, for showing up and sticking around with us. We apologize if we dragged you along, but I think it was an amazing presentation, and it was very insightful. So please, there's a link that has been posted in the charts. You may visit us on Facebook at Phoenix MedEd, and there's on Twitter. We're also on Instagram, yes, if I'm not mistaken. And please be on the lookout. We have tier 3 names that will be out. And because as a structure of Phoenix MedEd, we have levels, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, and the applications were sent out. So please be on the lookout. And I would like to thank everyone for showing up, the doctors, the presenters. Thank you for that insight in both perspectives. And I think this is where we close the meeting. If at all there isn't anything from Amanda. Okay, I think Amanda, are you still with us?
Yes, just a massive thank you to the speakers, and to both of you, Anthony and Violet, also for chairing the session so well. All of our guests, feel free to come to our future events as well. We're going to have many events that are as insightful as this one, and we also hope that Dr. Melka and Dr. Christabel join us for these events as well, so that they can learn from other doctors and they can continue contributing to our fellowship internationally. So huge thank you, and I hope everyone enjoy the rest of their Saturday.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.